Hi, I'm going to talk about a fully fluid today and how you build one. This is one of the key formats of the responsive ads platform. First of all, a fully fluid is basically an ad creative in infinite sizes. That means width and height. So you can have as many different widths and height. If you divide width by height, you actually can get a ratio as well. So used for proportional ads such as the IAB. But you could basically build an ad with infinite heights and infinite variants. And so think of a variant as that the thickness or all the different layers of your z-axis. This is done by manually setting up different kind of element groups. Also, we like to use the water and cup analogy to describe a fully fluid. Essentially, think of a fully fluid like water, and then any format you give it a cup, so that gives you a responsive ad. So you could actually have the fully fluid as its own water and cup that could be served, or you could build out a fully fluid and have as many different formats or cups that you could configure, such as any of the IAB sizes or things like fixed height fluids, edge to edge 250 high fluids, those kinds of things. The fully fluid is built from 5 shapes automatically. So if you lay out, basically the 5 shapes we use are horizontal, landscape, tile or square, portrait, and vertical. Those 5 shapes will give you infinite sizes automatically. And it can be deployed as one ad tag, as I mentioned, so you can have a fully fluid that could basically be deployed into your site and fit all of your ad slots dynamically like water fitting all of those cups. It can be used as one click to create any size. So after you build it, you can instantly add any size to it and have as many different IAB sizes as you need for export. It can be used to create just about any format, so you can build any formats with it. And as well, you can use it dynamically. So for large sized layouts versus small sized layouts, they can be independently configured. So you can have large sized layouts with massive sized JPEGs and then have that scale down for small sizes. So that is a fully fluid. But the last key point is the optimization of those sizes with different K weights. So you can actually have a very small sized ad creative for mobile versus something very large for massive digital signage. And the platform's fully fluid is set up as a 4K for as large as a 4K TV. So thank you, and here we go. So when you're in the editor, the first thing you do is you do new creative. Then you give it a name. So I'm going to do here fully fluid design build. I'm going to use a Photoshop file to show you how to use a Photoshop file, or you can upload the assets. I select the fully fluid, and I also want to add some other formats. I'm going to add a fluid 250 and a fluid 200 just to show you how quickly those are to set up. I go next. I'm going to be using Microsoft, so I'm going to use Microsoft as the advertiser. And you see here you can actually put in your agency or where you're going to traffic it. Okay, now I upload the Photoshop file. I complete the steps. Okay, here's the Microsoft assets. I could actually, if I just chose blank canvas, I could drop in all those images, but I'm just going to grab the rasterized Photoshop file, upload that. Okay, so now I have actually uploaded the file. I just hit zoom to put everything into visual perspective. And as you can see here, you have the 5 shapes, as I mentioned. Horizontal, which are all layouts that are greater than a 2 ratio. A landscape, which is a ratio that's between 2 and 1.2. A tile, which is a ratio between 1.2 and 0.8. A portrait, which is a ratio between 0.8 and 0.5, and a vertical, which is a ratio that's less than 0.5. And what does a ratio mean? It's the width divided by the height. If I quickly look at the layouts, as you can see here, we start with the 1090 by 10, the 1920 by 1080. The reason we do that is that's an HD video size, and that we're very much aligned to also the future of video. So it's really easy, and it gives you the most kind of neutral shape, is to have a horizontal, a landscape layout, 1920 by 1080. As you can see here, the 970 by 250, this is actually a ratio of 3.88 or close to 4. That standard size, the actual assets were actually dropped in at that size. So you might want to just even take your 970 by 250, your standard IAB unit, and you can use that Photoshop file to build out your fully fluid. I'm going to actually remove that layout like as such. Just hit the minus sign and remove it because we don't want it. And I only have the 1920 by 1080. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly show you the elements we have in here. We have the Microsoft logo, we have a CTA, we actually have a copy text title, and two other ones that are used for animation. We have a video fallback, so I'm going to turn off. We have the video poster, a shadow, and then a basic mosaic that's behind the video. So those are the elements. If we look at that, we have 5 elements. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm just going to delete the shadow. We don't need that. And I'm going to delete the video fallback. We don't need that. And I'm going to delete the other assets. We don't need those. So you could just delete the things that you don't need. Or you could do this and create a reference group, create a group element, and then in that group element, put all the elements in there and turn that off as a reference. So now the overall K weight is 722. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the creative settings and just use lossy to shrink everything down. It's nice to start out with light assets, and that takes it down to 233K, which is nice. So there we go, and there you have it. So now you have your 16 by 9 or your 1.78 ratio. I'm going to then add a couple other elements. I'm going to add a background element like that. I'm going to go into the element and make the color black. I'm going to grab it. You can see the hand. I'll put that at the bottom of the list like this. I'm going to grab the Microsoft logo. I'm going to center it. Just click on the position, makes it 0, 0, and I'm going to move it and set that up there. As you can see, it's actually in a div. That's why we have the contain here. And as you can see here, it is, and I'm going to move it all the way to the left in that contain. I'm going to then take this F1, this text copy, and I'm going to also move that here like this, and I'm going to anchor it to the right and just shrink that down like this. I'm going to create another group and make that half the size like that, and I'm going to put in the video poster to represent the video and the mosaic, just to show you how to do this very quickly. And I'm going to have the mosaic centered in that group, and I'm going to have the video poster also centered in that group, and move the video above the mosaic so you can see it. And then of course I'm going to move the Microsoft logo on top, and then on the CTA I'm going to anchor that to the bottom right corner, and I'm going to, there you go. And then this F1 should be also above that group so you can see it. So there we go. We now have that laid out. And if you'd like, I could even make the mosaic even bigger. Let's make it 200 like that. And then I'm going to actually make the video poster a little bit bigger as such. All right, so now we've laid out that shape. So some of the things that I did here is I anchored that to the center because I always want it to the center. I anchored this one, and I'm going to move the CTA again to the top. I anchored that to the bottom right, as you can see here. I anchored this logo up at the top left, and I have the video and then the mosaic anchored in the center of that pink group here as such. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to, and this is the only size laid out, as you can see. It's the only layout. I'm going to go and click on the 180 by 800. Now, it's using that same layout as the 1920 by 1080, but now it just added that layout to this size. And as you can see here, it's not exactly what we want. If we want, we can actually I'll make the video 100. I'm going to then grab the entire group. I'm going to move the entire group over to here. I'm going to anchor the group to the left. I'm going to grab the Microsoft logo. As you can see there, it went way over there. And I'm going to make that much bigger, like this. I'm going to make the mosaic, which was only 200 high. I'm going to make it 400 high. Whoops, 400. Maybe even make it higher, make it 500 high. So you can see the mosaic. And then I'm going to anchor that to the left. I'm going to make that much smaller as such. Maybe move it over. And I'm going to grab that button. And I'm going to put the button in the center over there on the right like that. I'm just going to make it a little bit taller like this. And make that one a little bit bigger like that. There we go. And so now as we've laid out that size. So now what you want to do is you see here you have the slide bar. And you see here the way the arrows. So this means you can actually slide it this way very nicely. Or I can slide it this way. And as you slide it, as you can see, the 180 by 1800 by 1080 is actually an aspect ratio of a 10. It's the IAB size aspect ratio, 10. And so I'm going to just scroll down. As I scroll down, as you see, it's getting bigger and bigger, the aspect ratio. And now I could see around 5, around this aspect ratio here. Actually, 4 is a good one. So if I just go to, well, let's just do 4. So at at 4 it actually snapped. So in between those two different aspect ratios, as you can see here, I'm just going to go here. So if I want 4, I could actually just click on these and go directly to what I want. So I have 1800 wide, and if I make that 450, it gives me 4, and I click on that, and I go right to 4. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a size. It says, you see here, it add a size and layout. So it not only adds a size, it gives you a new layout. So I'm going to add that, okay. And so now I have a new layout at this size, and I'm going to grab the group. So now I've added a 6 size, but I'm just going to do that just because I want one in between those two. And I'm going to do this, and then shrink that over, and shrink the button down a little bit. And I'm going to click on that and anchor that to the left. And there you go. So now I have that, and then if I do this, it shrink. There you go. So now it actually pops that to the other aspect ratio. So as you can see, it actually moves them in between those aspect ratios. So now I've kind of gotten everything vertically, and now I want to go here and move the slider horizontally. So as I move it, as you can see, everything shrinks down very nicely. And if I get here, as I hit, I'm just going to hit on the 1 and lay out the 1 aspect ratio. So there you go. At the 1 aspect ratio, what I want to do is I want to move the F1 and anchor that to the top center. Move that up like that. I can shrink down this div. Leave the Microsoft in the same location. I'm going to grab the video and I'm going to anchor that one to the bottom center. And you can see here, I can actually move that. Or I could actually have it anchored to the center, which is also nice. Center. And then I could actually make that bigger, like this. and even make that vertical bigger, like this. And then I'm going to grab the button, and I'm going to move the button right to the center like this, and move it down. And there we go. And I'm going to actually make it so it stays that shape, and it's very till exactly the width of the video. There we go. So now I have this 1 by 1. And then I'm going to click on the next size, which is the portrait. And the portrait looked like it automatically laid out very nicely. We'll maybe make this a little bit bigger. So as you can see here, you pretty much have to lay out 3 sizes, and then they automatically lay out. And then if I get down to here, the real thin one, when I get to the real thin one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the video 100% of that group. And I'm going to make that Microsoft logo 50%. There we go. And then shrink that. And then maybe make that one 90%. There we go. And so there it is. And then as I shrink that down, as you can see, and it snaps, and then I can actually shrink up this way. And it looks like we have everything laid out fully fluid. I can grab here and move it around and look for different sizes. So basically now I have those 5 sizes. I'm going to go back to the 180 by 800 zoom. Just zoom it in view, and I just want to see how it looks if I do move this way. It looks perfectly, snaps very nicely, and I have all those different sizes. So now I save it, and I now have a fully fluid. Now, because I added those other formats, I could just click on those different sizes, and as you can see, it is automatically laid out. And the same thing with this one. There you go. So now we have all those. And if you go here, you could see all of the layouts. And you could actually you could see them by proportion. And that's really useful because if you wanted to, say, layout at this layout here, if you wanted to change it and maybe move the button from the bottom, and let's just say I want to move it to the top like that, just for demo purposes. Now you can see at the 1.92, I actually have the button at the top just for that layout, you see? And then I could actually go to, say, the 1.78 layout, and I can go here, and I could copy the 1.92 to the 1.78, or the 1.78 back to, and if I go by proportion, the 1.9, the 1.92 layout. There we go. I'll just copy that layout to those, and copy the layout. If you wanted to go to the first one and change the order, like have the order different, maybe I want to put the F1 at the top, I could actually go here and copy the layout to all layouts, only the element order of that list. So now as you see, as I go through all the lists, that order is all the same. So it doesn't copy the layout, it just copies the order of the list. That's another very useful feature. So if I hit open preview now, I can actually grab the browser and shrink it down to any of the sizes that I want. And you can see because it's fully fluid. Or I could actually just go here and hit the breakout view, and it shows me the 5 shapes that I laid out. And then all the other shapes are other 2 shapes that I added besides those 5 shapes. And then I could just click here, and I could easily see now all of the IAB Flex instantaneously laid out. Like that, all those sizes as such. There you go. That is the fully fluid layout. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions, contact us at support@ResponsiveAds. Bye-bye.